Hello.
Hi. My allergies are kicking my ass. Like snot is just falling out of my nose. It is working.
Yeah, your eyes look like it too.
Yeah.
Water. Oh,
Uh, so I'm gonna keep this quick.
okay.
Okay. I had to knock myself out last night with
Jadeline.
oh well no I not no I was talking about my cold still. I'm
Oh,
like knocked myself out with I took two Benadryl and a Tylenol PM, and I still woke up
oh,
just like,
boy, that's power.
I
That's
know.
oh, jeez.
So, but hopefully Jadaline is okay.
Why do you have it in the fall? What's out there?
I
Golden
don't know if it's like mold. I don't know exactly what it is. Like but I never get them in the spring. So it's like,
goldenrod.
yeah, like ragweed, mold, dust mites, and pet dander.
Well,
Like ragweed, yeah, is released from August to November because usually, like clockwork, it starts like the first, like it's always around State Fair, which is like the first week of August.
right. Oh,
Um, but like I don't know what was because it was really windy on Saturday, and I think just stuff started getting kicked up, you know?
yeah, blowing.
Yeah. Oh, so anyway,
Oh, too bad. You're miserable. Do you
yeah.
ever take Zyrtec?
I take like a generic 24-hour thing,
Okay.
which is akin to Zyrtec. Um, yeah, and I've like taken one today already, and it's like a little tickle in your nose, you know? Have you ever gotten that where it's like you just breathe in and it makes you sneeze?
Right. My only allergy symptom is an itchy nose. I mean, I'm
Really?
going, "Ugh," I want to take it off. Right.
God.
But I don't get what you're getting. That's miserable.
Oh, be thankful.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We'll give it another minute to see if anybody else shows up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get this room painted. I know that much.
Are you about done?
No, I haven't even started. I'm just like crippled for some reason to start painting. Like painting is like not a thing that I ever dread really, but now it's just like with this
Hmm.
room, I cannot get it. I can't get myself to start. And I know once I start, it'll be fine.
Do you have the color?
I do. Um, I got the gallon already. I don't know.
You get allergies.
And now I've got allergies, so that's what's gonna keep me from it. All right. Hi, Samantha. We can get going. Let me share my screen. So really today what we're going through is just like the differences in the condo offer to purchase. And I'm going to show you guys two other additional documents as well that are related to condo purchases. Um, but I'd say 75% of the offer to purchase um, is the same as the residential offer to purchase, right? So the residential offer to purchase, the WB11, is what we use for single families, duplexes. But when we write on a condo, then that is a completely different offer. Again, like 75% of it is identical to the regular offer to purchase, but there are some key sections included in the condo offer that I want to go over today, that we want to go over today. So, I'm going to pull it up. I'm just going to bring it right up here in zip forms. And I'll use this opportunity to say that There is a special template in the zip forms. So when you go to write on an offer to purchase or go to write on a condo, excuse me, you will apply the condo offer to purchase template. Okay. So all of this should mostly look familiar until we get down to lines 42 through 51 is the first section that is unique to the condo offer. So this addresses storage, parking, and fees. So if there is a storage unit included in the offer or included in the condo, excuse me, you would indicate that here. So a storage unit is or is not included in the purchase price, and the storage unit number is X. If it's not, you'll just strike is so that you leave is not open. If there is one, you'll strike is not to leave is open, and then you'll also include the storage unit number. You should be able to find that information on the MLS. Most often, listing agents will include that type of information in like the private remarks. If you know there is one and you don't have a unit number identified, then I would go ahead and just ask that listing agent. The parking, so the parking for the unit is, and you'll just go ahead and describe what the parking situation is. So, you know, if it's like a kind of like an apartment style building, you could just say it's one space underground and you'll just be specific on how the parking, what the parking situation is. If there's a separate parking fee for parking, you would indicate it here. Again, that's something that you would find most often in the MLS private remarks. Sometimes we've got just, you know, 2-car attached. You'll just be specific about what it is and you'll just include it here. If it's none, you'll just write none as well. Association fee. So the association fee for the property is blank per blank. So again, more often than not, this is going to be a monthly fee. And you'll find the association fee on a condo data sheet in the MLS. And I can also pull up a condo in MLS so we can show you guys where you'll find that information. Sometimes association fees are per quarter. If that's the case, you would write quarter there, but more often than not, it's a monthly fee. So again, just write it right in there. Unit transfer fees. So starting at line 46, the unit transfer fee, buyer is aware that the property may be subject to one-time fees resulting from the transfer of the property. Any fees resulting from the transfer of the property shall be paid at closing by, and it defaults to the buyer if neither the seller or buyer is struck. This is important to know. I have run into issues with this myself, where a unit transfer fee was identified in condo docs, but was not included on the condo addendum to the record. And I was the listing agent and the buyer came back and was very upset that we didn't have it disclosed. So I would just be aware and be looking for those kind of fees in condo documents, or the condo addendum to the record. And as listing agents now, I'm going to make sure that it is up in front in the private remarks. So it's not often that there's a unit transfer fee, but they can be kind of costly. I mean, anywhere from $200 to, I think I've seen as high as $500. So just be aware that these can exist. And if the buyer has a preference and they want the seller to take that on, you could strike that here and make it a negotiation point, but it defaults to the buyer paying for it. Note, the association may charge fees at or subsequent to closing, which may include additional association reserves, admin, or other fees. Buyers advised to review the condo disclosure materials, including but not limited to current financial disclosure statements. That could have been something, you know, and here's an example. Well, I'll get to that when we get to the condo disclosure materials. So any questions so far? Okay. All right, so then it just, you know, again, moves on to acceptance, closing, earnest money. Again, all of this should look familiar. This is all in an offer to purchase, a WB11. And then we get to the condo disclosure materials section. So this is probably the most defining feature or defining difference in a condo offer versus a regular offer. So as a part of a condo sale, along with or just being part of a condominium association, there are condo disclosure materials that are a part of a condo unit or part of a condo association. So in the state of Wisconsin, there are a few disclosure materials that are required, it's a state statute, so by state law, that must be transferred to a buyer as part of a sale. So the way that this reads is that the seller agrees to deliver to the buyer within 10 days after acceptance of the offer, current and accurate copies of the condo disclosure materials required by statute 703. The condo disclosure materials include a copy of the following and any amendments to any of these. And then it goes ahead and lists them. So the proposed or existing declaration, bylaws, and any rules or regulations, and an index of the contents. The proposed or existing articles of incorporation, proposed or existing management contract, employment contract, or other contract affecting the use, maintenance, or access to part or all of the condo, the annual operating budget for the condo, including reasonable details concerning the estimated monthly payments by the purchaser, leases to which the unit owners or the associations will be a party, general description of any contemplated expansion of the condo, including each stage of expansion and the maximum number of units that can be added to the condo, unit floor plan, and the executive summary. So again, all of these are required to be transferred to the buyer, and the seller has 10 days to do that after the acceptance of this offer. Jumping ahead over to the buyer rescission rights. So as a part of receiving these documents, the buyer has certain rescission rights. So buyer may within 5 business days after receipt of all the required disclosure documents or following notice of any material changes, may rescind this offer by written notice delivered to the seller. So what's unique about this is that once a buyer receives all of the condo documents, they've got 5 business days to review what they have received. And if they want, they may rescind the contract for any reason related to the condo disclosure materials. They don't even have to cite why they are rescinding the offer. They can just say that it is related to the condo disclosure materials, not exactly or specifically what is found in them. And it's an automatic out just by serving that notice to the seller. And again, they've got 5 business days to do that. If that 5 business days comes and goes, then that deadline is just up. That opportunity has just waived itself. And the buyer is just moving forward through with the sale. And they don't have that opportunity anymore. If the disclosure materials are delivered to the buyer and the buyer does not receive all of the disclosure documents, so maybe they've only received part of them, the buyer may within 5 business days after the receipt of the disclosure materials either rescind the offer or request any missing documents. Seller has 5 business days after that request for the additional documents to deliver the requested documents. And and just it just maps it all out. So if the buyer doesn't receive all of those requested missing documents, then the buyer also may rescind after that as well, or because of that as well. Any document delivered to the buyer may not be changed or amended if the amendment would materially affect the rights of the buyers without first obtaining approval of the buyer. A copy of any such amendments shall be delivered promptly to the buyer. So I believe that the rescission rights, once a materially changed amendment or document is delivered to the buyer, even though that first set of 5 days is up, I believe that 5 days starts all over again. Right, Joan?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a big deal. We want to be on top of getting these, as from the listing perspective, you want to be on top of making sure that we have all of these documents at the ready to deliver to the buyer within that 10-day period. Oftentimes we are offering these condo disclosure materials right within the MLS. If that is the case, that is fine. But we want to make sure that that is documented into the offer to purchase as well. So as a listing agent, you might want to say, buyer is in receipt of these condo disclosure materials already, so that that 5 days can begin. I mean, and this is where it gets gray, because it could be argued that that 5 business days begins as soon as they see them. But to make sure it's crystal clear, you could document it within the offer to purchase, and that 5 days could begin once the offer is accepted. So,
Yeah, and remember the importance of 5 business days. That sort of rattles through, but you have to really think about that, because if the buyer does want out of the condo because of documents or whatever reason, in order to use this rescission, it's got to be within 5 business days. So holidays, weekends are skipped and in the counting. That's we see lots of clashes in contracts because of that.
right. And it's also a good idea to get a receipt documented, so that we know exactly when that 5 days begins. So in our zip forms, and I'll show you this as well, in our zip forms, we have a clause to show or to state that all documents have been received. Once that is delivered, then as well, then that 5 business days can begin. Okay, so this is new, relatively new. This next section I'm about to go through is related to the condo documents as well. But this is relatively new to the condo offer to purchase. So, I described up here, these are required. Yeah. So 111 through 121 are absolutely required to be sent along. Now, if the buyer chooses to, they can make their offer contingent upon the seller delivering an expansion of these condo docs. Beginning at line 152, the condo association financial statements for the last 2 years, the minutes of the last 3 unit owners meetings, the minutes of the condo board meetings during the 12 months prior to the acceptance of this offer, information about contemplated or pending condo special assessments, the association certificate of insurance, a statement from the association indicating the balance of reserve counts, any common element inspection reports, information regarding any pending litigation, the declaration, bylaws, budget, and/or most recent financial statement of any master association or additional association that the unit might be part of, or other. So, if the buyer wishes to see, the condo association's financial statements for the last 2 years to review, the minutes of the last 3 unit owners meetings might be material to a buyer. They might want to see if there's any discussion of any pending assessments, any proposed repairs, major renovations, etc. So they might want to see those documents as well as a part of this offer. And instead of making this a requirement up here in the condo disclosure materials, this has been made a contingency. So this can become a negotiation point between buyer and seller. And it works the same way. The buyer may have 5 business days after the receipt of the listed materials to rescind the offer. And just like the buyer has the option to request missing documents, they are able to with these additional condo information as well. And there's the same rescission rights apply. Parties agreed that the 5 business days begin the earlier of the buyer's actual receipt of the listed materials or requested missing materials, or upon the deadline for the seller's delivery of the listed materials. So again, if the seller just doesn't deliver it, buyer may rescind as well. One point to make about these additional condo docs, if you as the listing agent, if you receive an offer with this contingency marked, and for example, that the we don't have financial statements for the last 2 years, or the minutes of the condo board meetings during the last 12 months. If you know that those are not available, then you would want to strike that and just confirm with the seller what is available in this list, so that everyone can be on the same page in terms of expectations on what the seller can provide. So that would be something you'd want to strike in this section if you know that the seller cannot provide it.
What if the buyer only wants to see the minutes of the last 3 meetings?
I think you could just strike everything.
Just strike everything else out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that might be the only thing that they want to see, and they don't care about the rest. So, but then, the reason why we want to protect our sellers in this case is because if, we left those other items out there, then it could be argued that the buyer could rescind based off of not receiving those items, when they were just never available to provide anyway. So that's why, as the listing agent, we'd want to make sure we're buttoned up there.
Right.
Okay, any other questions before we go on? Awesome. Okay, so then I'm not going to go through each one of these definitions, but on the crash printed pages of the offer, it just goes through, and just like in our regular offer to purchase, there's a section for defining these terms unique to a condo. So we've got association, an additional association, what common elements are, what a condo is, the declaration, the limited common elements, a small condominium. I will say if it's a small condominium is defined as any association with 12 or less units. So in that case, for example, an executive summary is not required with a smaller association. It also defines what a unit is. So, okay, moving on.
Yeah, I would say those definitions are important if this is the first condo that your buyer has ever lived in. Because a lot of these words, like even the definition of what a condominium is, and what we're talking about when we're talking about declarations and bylaws in a condominium, these are things that are not around with single family purchases. And if somebody's never been a condo buyer, they need to have this extra education. So it's up to you to point this out and go over these definitions carefully.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe we should go through them.
No, I think it's just to note that, make sure you know as the agent, that
Yeah.
know what they are so that, even if you just sort of skim it, each definition, you're at least pointing them out. And it's not,
To the
I mean, some
client.
of this is, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not apparent.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like key here, for example, every unit is automatically a member of the association, which adopts a budget and sets the amounts of fees or assessments paid by all unit owners. So you're just like living in common, you're all separate individual owners of your unit, but collectively are making decisions about what is done to the condo, in the shared spaces, paying into assessments and paying monthly to build up that budget for repairs, etc. So, um,
Yeah, I think if a buyer is only used to apartment living and thinks that condominium living is just gonna be like an apartment, except we buy it instead of rent it. That's not true. There's a lot more to being part of an association in a condo unit. You have to be of the type that wants to share a lot of their life and lifestyle with others.
and it can backfire. I have a,
Yeah.
yeah, I won't go into an example, but yes. Okay. Then the next piece, and this is the next kind of area where Joan and I get a lot of questions on, run into a lot of hiccups on at the 11th hour. That is around assessments. So the way that it reads is, so first off, on 543, unpaid condo assessments. So all unpaid assessments shall be paid by seller no later than closing. So these are assessments that have been levied, and if the seller has any outstanding assessments that need to be paid, then that's just gonna come out of proceeds at closing, and paid for by the seller. So, but now moving on to any other special assessments, whether proposed or levied. The way that this reads is that special assessments, if any, including those by any condo or additional association, levied or for work actually commenced prior to the date stated on line 1 of this offer, shall be paid by the seller, again, no later than closing. All other special assessments shall be paid by the buyer. Then it goes on to define what levied means. Levied with regard to municipal special assessments means the local municipal governing body has adopted and published a final resolution describing the planned improvements and the assessment of benefits. Levied with regard to condo special assessments means the association has adopted a resolution imposing fees on the units other than regular association fees for special projects or expenses. So where we run into this, and a reason why a buyer, for example, might want to see condo meeting minutes from prior years or from the prior year, is oftentimes, if the condo is in discussion on a huge repair, maybe it's a roof repair, and looking at finances, it's been determined that there's not enough in the budget to cover that expense, right? So there might be discussion on charging the unit owners additional fees per month to help cover that cost. So if there's a difference between having the discussion and a difference between having a resolution on it. So if that work has been discussed and a special assessment has been levied, so the condo board has made a final resolution on it. And yes, this is what, X, Y, and Z will be happening, and we'll be paying Y for it per month for X number of years. And that has been sent out to the unit owners. Everybody has been made aware of it. That has been levied, and the seller would be required to pay for that special assessment because it was in play and adopted prior to when this offer was written. Now let's say there has been discussion of this, but nothing has been officially adopted. There has been no final decision made on how this is going to be paid for. And let's say it gets paid or gets decided, within the time period between that buyer getting an accepted offer and closing. Per the language here, that special assessment then would now go to the buyer. So that would be really important for the buyer to know, again, through, review of those additional condo docs, those additional meeting minutes. If they're gonna have, if there's an expectation for them to come with more funds to help with this assessment. So again, when Joan and I are kind of wading through issues as it relates to special assessments, it's usually because a buyer has learned about something after them writing an offer to purchase or getting an accepted offer. So just as listing agents, that should just be part of your process when, and it comes up a lot more than you would think. So as a listing agent, you would want to make sure you're asking those questions to your sellers. Are there any discussions of special assessments? What's been decided, or what's been discussed with your condo board, etc. Do you know of anything that might be coming? Because we want to disclose anything like that. And I don't know if pending a special assessment that might be a question on the real estate condition report, actually. But again, we want all parties to be informed of anything like this right from the get-go. And on line 51, a caution for both, consider a special agreement of area assessments, property owner association assessments, condo association special assessments, special charges for current services, or other expenses are contemplated. So there's kind of like setting it right up, even if it's contemplated, buyer and seller might want to consider coming to an agreement versus just this cut and dry, special assessment levied prior to the date on line 1 goes to the seller. Anything after that goes to the buyer. It might be a situation where negotiation has to happen and not left to this kind of black and white solution. Okay. I think what we really want you to hear here is that this is a part of the offer, and it is something to pay attention to for sure. Just like the condo doc materials, this question on special assessments should definitely be a consideration as a buyer's agent. You're going to want to make sure you're asking these questions of the listing agent prior to writing the offer as well. So
yeah, this is key in your fiduciary role as a listing agent or a buyer agent to make sure that you have answers to these questions. So make the preparation, get the information if you're the listing agent, and ask questions if you're the buyer's agent.
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah.
With the special assessments, is that something that can be negotiated, like in an amendment, if the seller doesn't want to pay assessments, that they could put that under special circumstances, or the buyer to have a more attractive offer, say that we'll pay for any outstanding special assessments?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's kind of what this caution line is saying, you know, consider a special agreement, you know, to handle assessments. So, what's difficult though is it's kind of like the right to cure expansion language. You know, it's hard to negotiate these things after the fact, you know, once it's revealed, right? So, yes, I would be addressing this at the get-go, and really great idea. You know, if you're in competition, you know, you can communicate to a seller like, we'll take on that for you, whatever comes up. So, yes, is the short answer.
Would that be just in the regular, what is it, amendment A?
Oh,
Or-
well, you could do it in the additional provisions here.
Mhm.
You can address that there. Or yes, the addendum A does have its own section just like this for blank.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah. Good question.
Mhm.
Um, okay. And those are the sections of the condo offer to purchase that are unique. I'm going to move on to those other documents that are a part of the transaction. Okay, so, and this is going to be coming from the listing agent, the seller side. But, and this is required for all condos, not just, you know, there's no like size requirement or that, which would make this exempt, for a transaction. So if you're dealing with a condo, the seller needs to provide the condominium addendum to the real estate condition report. So this would just go along with your real estate condition report. And, you know, just at the top, just, you know, you're identifying when the real estate condition report was dated, filling in the property address, municipality, the county. And this is information for the parties of the transaction. So a lot of this information is information that title companies need and lenders need. So the condo identification and seller contact information, the name of the condo, the contact information for the unit owner, which you would 9 times out of 10 be putting yourself as the listing agent. The condo association information. So this is really important for, again, those other parties that are related to the transaction. So the title companies, when doing their paperwork, they are having to get in touch with the contact of the condo association to get and verify documents with them. How the condo association is managed, whether it's self-managed or if there's a third-party management company. If there is a third-party condo management company, then that information would go down here. And then here is that important section that I was kind of referring to in my example. So lines 27 through 30, the unit owner is responsible for the following current condo assessments, fees, special assessments, and other charges. You can attach a copy of the current budget for easy reference. But you would list anything here. And have all current charges been paid? So you would mark, or the seller would mark yes or no there. So this, for example, is where our seller would want to put the buyer transfer, that move-in, move out fee, for example. The executive summary, a copy of the executive summary is attached, unless this is a small condo. Again, a small condo association is anything that is 12 units or less. So if it's less than 12 units, then an executive summary is not required. If it's a larger association, then it is required. So just like a real estate condition report, the seller/unit owner will sign and date here. And then when the buyer picks this up, along with the real estate condition report, they are going to sign and date here. And then there is a statement here on whether or not the buyer has received all of the condo disclosure materials, and they could check that there. Again, this will be attached to the real estate condition report and is required for all condos. Okay, so then that executive summary, excuse me. So this is a document that can be filled out by the seller, or a condo association might already have one pre-printed up. And generally speaking, the executive summary is exactly that. It is a summary of the most commonly asked questions as it relates to an association. So, first here we've got the condo association management and governance. So the name, association address, how the association is managed. Again, we saw that at the condo addendum to the record. But parking, pets, are pets allowed? Unit rentals, can the unit owners rent out their condo units? Special condo amenities or features, unit maintenance and repair responsibilities. Number 7, common element and limited common element maintenance, repair and replacement. Reserve funds, if there are any available. Does the association have a statutory reserve account? Fees on new units, expansion plans, if any. Unit alteration and limited common element enclosure, first right of purchase, a transfer fee, payoff statement fee. Those condo associations and management companies get you. Disclosure materials fee, other restrictions. So again, this is just taking information that is already in the condo disclosure materials, but put in one nice spot for a buyer to have a quick reference. Again, these are just, like, generally speaking, the most commonly asked questions as it relates to a condo and an association. So a buyer would receive this from the listing agent / seller. And I think in the condo disclosure materials section in the offer, this is listed as a requirement. The one exception, again, would be a condo association that's less than 12 units. So, but yeah, so it would be just this executive summary. Well, no, I mean, additional documents unique to a condo would be obviously the condo disclosure materials, an executive summary, and the real estate condo addendum to the real estate condition report. Okay.
Good.
I'm going to stop share. Let's pull up our. Oh, Kathy, I must have already addressed this question for the attached garage, I think, because that is possible, and you would just be specific in that line. 2-car attached garage or what have you.
Yeah, you did actually
Okay.
write that in on the screen, yep.
Okay, are there any questions? Okay,
You did a good job.
thanks as always, you guys. Joan is gonna be up next week with the miscellaneous addendums, I believe.
Right.
Yep, the addendum
Mm.
R,
Okay.
O, and then one more, I'm forgetting which
The
one.
A.
The A. And then after that, we'll be doing the addendum AC. Yeah, so thanks again, you guys, and we love it when we have a big crowd, so thanks for
Yeah.
joining us.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right.